President Dudley, good afternoon, and thanks for agreeing to have me to Lee House to engage in a conversation with you about the year winding down here at Washington and Lee. And thanks in particular on behalf of alumni for visiting our 40 largest alumni chapters all around the country since you arrived in January of 2017. That is no small feat, and we appreciate it.
Glad to do it. I've enjoyed it.
I hope we can talk about some of the themes that have emerged both in those alumni chapter settings and certainly in your conversations with students and faculty and staff here on campus. I want to begin, though, with a real question about the fact that you have been a professor here. You've taught 2 courses since arriving. You must have the busiest schedule on the entire campus. How do you manage that, and talk with us about the course that you just finished this term?
Sure. I love to teach. I've been a teacher for 25 years and not going to stop just because I happen to be the president. So I'm teaching a class each fall, and I like to do classes that combine my background as a philosopher with my day job as a university president. So this fall I taught a course on our university mission statement. The mission statement says that Washington and Lee is here to provide a liberal arts education that develops students' capacities to think freely, critically, humanely, conduct themselves with honor, integrity, and civility. So I taught a course in which we asked ourselves, what does all that mean? What does that involve? And we spent a month reading Aristotle's Ethics, which is the foundational text in virtue ethics, and then we spent 7 weeks reading a series of contemporary philosophers thinking about each of the virtues in the W&L mission statement. And had a fantastic time doing it. I had 15 students, a couple brave first years, some seniors, and everything in between. And they were engaged and just a treat to be with.
Fantastic. Alumni have many fond memories of the iconic professors of their day who taught them, befriended them, mentored them in what we recall as a very personal, up-close way. Give us your impression about today's Washington and Lee faculty on that basis.
Yeah, that I think remains absolutely the case, and it is a central part of what makes this place special. If I think about my own experience with my students, I spent time with them in the classroom every week, but of course also spent time with them in office hours, talking about the work of the course, but also their summer plans, their professional hopes and dreams, their graduate school applications. Invited them here to dinner at Lee House, had dinner with some of them in the dining hall, had dinner with some of them in a couple different fraternities, watched a few of them compete on the track team, watched one of them perform in the recent dance troupe event. And when I'm out doing those things with my students, I see other faculty doing the same thing with theirs all over campus all the time. And it creates the kind of relationships that the people remember for a lifetime.
I think I remember that you first saw a student perform as Dracula, and then Dracula had you down to his fraternity house to have dinner. Is that true?
I did. That was last year, and I went to see a student play, and the next morning I got an email from the lead in the play who said, I'm Dracula, and I noticed you in the audience. Would you like to come to Sigma Nu and meet my fraternity brothers? And I said, sure. So I went and had dinner with Dracula and his buddies.
We read quite a lot about how some institutions around the country have struggled, to put it that way, to maintain civility, a civil discourse on their campuses. There have been a handful of quite notorious incidents that the media has reported. What is your sense of Washington and Lee on that core virtue of civility here?
Yeah, I think it is a strength of this place, both in our daily interactions here on campus. Civility is one of the virtues in our mission statement, so it's one of the topics of the course I just taught. I think there's a fair amount to say about it, but if you boil it down, it amounts to treating people with respect, whether you agree with them or not. And I think we do that very well here. I saw it in my classroom. The students argued with each other every day. They were lively and they were passionate and they weren't afraid to express their disagreements, but they were always respectful to each other and certainly to me. I think you also see it in the events that we host on campus. We bring distinguished speakers to campus all the time. They get invited by different individuals and departments, and Washington and Lee is deeply committed to freedom of speech and to treating with respect the guests who come to this campus. My first weekend at Washington and Lee, I was rolled out as the new president the weekend of mock convention in 2016.
Oh, yes.
And that was, a who's who of dignitaries in the Republican Party were here speaking that weekend, and to a packed house in the Warner Center, and all that all went beautifully well. Right now, the students are ramping up behind the scenes, doing all the hard work to get ready for mock convention 2020. That will be a who's who of dignitaries from the Democratic Party to a packed house, and I have no doubt that that will go well too. It's what we do.